Hi, my name is Darrell Brown, and this is my disposition video for my SPD 501 course at Grand Canyon University. This video will cover the following questions which originate from the assignment. The very first question is, what is the special education teacher's role in supporting learning, improving planning, practice, and upholding professional expectations and ethics, and collaboratively advancing the profession? The second question is, what dispositions do I currently possess and hold that will have me be a successful teacher? And also, what dispositions do I need to work on and improve as a first year teacher? The last question is, what effects could personal bias or expectations have on a student or your classroom? I will begin by saying that special education teachers are held to a much more standard solely because they're required much more. The base standards they receive, and they're appointed the base standards that every other teacher is appointed inside the school building, but they're required to do a lot more. Special education teacher requirements differentiate by state, of course, but the most commons are such as IEPs, progress monitoring, uh, learning target, learning goals, and different things. And also with these things, this is proper planning by the special education teacher, which shows them exactly what needs to be done and how it needs to be done to help the students succeed as best they can. Special education teachers, when it comes to advancing the profession, I feel that advocating for the profession and advocating your necessities is the most vital part. Nobody knows like the teacher that's in the classroom what is more needed and what's the biggest necessity inside of that special education classroom. By advocating this, by speaking up more, by going to more board meetings, by letting it be known that the simple necessities which is needed inside of the classroom will help advance and will help improve the profession as a whole. And also, I feel like the most important role a special educator can have is inclusion. When it comes to special education students, they are already secluded as it is throughout the day in a solo classroom, or if they have an IEP inside their normal classrooms, but they don't feel involved. I say that to say inclusion, getting them involved in every aspect of the school building will help the success process solely because that is a big part of life tools, being able to interact with other people. Which this is the sole reason why I feel like inclusion is a very, very, very important aspect that special educators have. To go to the second question, the two dispositions that I feel that I currently already hold. The first would be educators should model integrity by their words and actions. I feel I already hold this disposition and I already carry out and act out this disposition every day of my life solely because I'm a football coach. That is something that I did long before that I became a teacher. Being a coach of young men, you must carry yourself a certain way, and you be solely because you are a role model. By carrying myself a certain way and carrying myself with integrity and leading by example, being a man of my word, following my actions, I am a positive role model to those young men, which is the same thing educators have to be inside the school building, a positive role model to each and every student they come across. The second disposition I would say is educators should be sensitive to the individual learning and social needs of students and embrace the cultural diversity of the community. This is also simple because I am a football coach. Being a coach, I have dealt with many different young men with different backgrounds, coming from different communities, different race and ethnicities, and the same goal has always been the same: get them on the same page and find a common way to teach them to where everyone can comprehend and have and possibly meet the same success level, I should say. This won't be difficult to translate over to the classroom setting solely because coaching is very similar to teaching, and coaching really is teaching, and that you're simply just teaching a sport. So with me having experience with dealing with different young men and different learning styles and finding common ways to learn to where everyone can comprehend, and possibly reach that same success level, that won't be hard to translate to a classroom with a much smaller setting or and a lower number of students, I should say. The one disposition I would say that I need to work on, I would say it says teachers understand the effect of the community involvement and servant leadership as it applies to the welfare of others in the educational setting. I chose this disposition solely because I am unsure of how the environment outside of the school system affects the learning environment inside of a learning classroom. The reason I chose this is solely because I'm personally going to do more research on this specific topic just to see the effects of the actual surrounding environment has on the actual school system and or the actual classroom setting inside of the school, I should say. But to go on to the third and last question, when it comes to being biased in a classroom or teacher bias, I totally disagree with it solely because I feel and I have experienced that when you are biased to a student, you lower their expectations and requirements for that student solely because you feel for him and you have your personal connection with that student. You want to be nice to that student, I should say. This could actually be more harmful to the student that you're being biased to solely because you will not and you don't hold them to the same standards and expectations that you hold every other student in your classroom or every other student that you come across the same. By saying this, they could comprehend less solely because you don't force them to comprehend the same as they do every other student. When you speak on biasness in the classroom, you have to understand that biasness is not pro-student. I say that to say being biased is choosing one specific or two specific students and treating them different than anybody else in your classroom. Being pro-student is whatever the students need. Each and every student that I come across, I am pro-student because my heart is for the students. Whatever I can do to help each and every student reach their maximum peak success, I will do. But being biased and choosing one student to allow to slack off, I don't agree with solely because it's hurting him more than it's helping him. With that being said, special education teachers are required a lot and they do a lot. Special shout out to special education teachers. This is the end of my disposition video. Be blessed.